Welcome to Sports CTO Talks. In this series, we would be connecting with industry leaders from sports and technology industry, where we will simplify sports. I am Ami, your guide on this journey through amazing mind of sports tech leaders who are shaping the future of sports. We will dive deep into discussions and understandings who are driving the industry, from AI to cloud, from cybersecurity to sustainability. If it is sports tech, we are talking about it. Today, in the episode, we are joined by someone who has been driving force in futsal world for over 2 decades. We welcome you, 𝗱𝗃𝘁𝘀𝗹.
Hi Amy, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well. Yeah, it's good to be here and looking forward to chatting.
Absolutely. So I'll just give a quick introduction about him. He is the head of development and technical lead. Sean's journey with futsal began back in 2004 as a player representing Great Britain at two World University Games and proudly playing international futsal for Wales for 5 years. But his impact did not stop on the court. For the past 6 years, Sean has coached the England U19s and served as an assistant coach for both the men's senior team and the newly established women's senior team. His leadership and insights have shaped the game at every level. Beyond coaching, Sean brings over 15 years of experience across wider sports sector, from his time at the FA as a coach, educator, mentor, and development officer, to Sports England and England Hockey, and now leading and performance at England Futsal. Passionate about creating opportunities for young players to go beyond what they ever imagined, Sean is now championing a bold vision at England Futsal, the official delivery partner to the FA, working to make futsal accessible to everyone everywhere. From grassroots to elite, from playgrounds to podiums, Sean believes futsals can inspire, include, and elevate. We are thrilled to have him today and to discuss about an amazing topic which you are about to share and his journey so far in the sports. So today he would be talking about like how athletes from playgrounds can achieve podiums, building futsal's journey. Once again, we welcome you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. No, that sounds exciting. Even just even listening to it, I get excited about talking about it. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, like, we'll just begin with the basics. Like, I want to understand what inspired, for you to start your futsal journey. It can be a personal and professional, and how does it align with your long-term vision in building in England futsal?
Yeah, so my journey started by chance at university. So I went to the University of Bath. A colleague and now a friend of mine, 𝗂𝗲𝗃𝗹, who was the first England manager, was tasked with taking a Great Britain universities team to a world championship. My coach at the University of Bath suggested I fit the bill. I would be a good player for this sport of futsal, which I'd never heard of at the age of 18. So went along, participated, amazing experiences. But we came up against some very good teams, Spain, Portugal, Ukraine, who had many years of experience on us. And the game just encapsulated me. It was fast, it was dynamic. It was very skillful. The physical and technical levels of the players was of a very high level, and I was playing semi-professional football, and these players were making me look, a lot less. So it intrigued me, and I've always had a brain that wants to learn. I get intrigued by things that I don't quite understand, so I want to ask questions. I'm curious. I want to connect with it, and that futsal did that to me. So even though I was a player first, pretty much all my time as a player, I was also the coach because we had an immature structure in England. Therefore, I was first generation, so I played and I coached to some degree. So that's always been kind of part of my role and my journey from a personal level. And I guess that's just expanded from an organizational level and a sporting level where ultimately I want to help the game. I want to get some of those feelings that I felt, because once futsal grabs you, it pretty much holds on to you, and it's held on to me. And now it's about giving back. Now it's about creating more opportunities. Now it's about making the game more inclusive, more accessible, across England and beyond. So that's the vision organisationally of England futsal. Can we create diverse pathways and opportunities to support more children to access the game, and then create more opportunities through someone's life journey, whether that's playing, coaching, volunteering, leading, whatever it is.
So a basic question for a novice audience, like what is the difference, like, between futsal, football, and explain us what is futsal, if a
Before,
person does not know.
yes, yes, of course. I mean, the first thing I say is think of all the best bits of a game of football. Um, Shooting, goals, saves, dribbles. Now, from a game experience point of view, imagine that happening almost every moment of the game. So, futsal is played on a 40 by 20 hard court, smooth surface, typically indoors, but when the weather's good or if you have the climate, can be played outdoors. It's played to lines, so we have kick-ins instead of throw-ins. There are no restrictions on where the players can go, so there's no offside rule as you have in football, which creates lots of creativity and different ways of trying to score. And we play to goals that are 3 meters by 2 meters, so it's the same as handball. So it's a very similar structure to handball in that sense. And the game, because of that reduction of space and the speed of the ball is a little bit smaller and a little bit heavier, so it's on the ground for longer. All those, I suppose, constraints just provide this really fast, exciting end-to-end game where any mistake or any moment a goal can be scored. And that's why I kind of always say it's taking all those best bits of football and just they're on repeat constantly. So you're physically, you're mentally, you're technically always in the game. And it's played between two teams of 5 players. And there can be unlimited substitutions because it's physically demanding. You're on and then you're off and then you're on again. So all those things just add to this, I suppose, a bit of a thrill ride for me. It's just like going on a roller coaster at a theme park. It's just an adrenaline rush. And again, from a coaching perspective, there's so much going on. It just encapsulates you. And similar for fan audience, it's similar experiences to what I imagine fans of, high level games, similar kind of feel.
Absolutely. So, like, I want to understand what are the technicalities to be looked at, understanding the game better, like how physical it is, and does it require any emotional intelligence to play, and how does it help the grassroots level players to begin their journey and to reach up to an elite level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing is because it's played on a smaller is of a premium. So you're under pressure from your opponents very, very quickly. So you have to learn to, I suppose, manipulate and skillfully find solutions to problems where there is no space. So it tries and it tests players to be creative, to be imaginative. The other thing is because it's 5 players, you are touching the ball. I think it's something like 7, 8 times more than you would in a game of football. So you're constantly having to repeat decisions. You're constantly having to be put under pressure. So it's going to improve, your passing skills, your receiving skills, your shooting skills, your dribbling skills. All those things just happen more often. The other thing is what happens, like intelligence when you don't have the ball as well. Like, how do you try to create space where there isn't any? So it's encouraging young players to be creative with their movement, to change speeds, to learn how to add disguise. Can I fool my opponent by pretending to go one way to come back another way to receive the ball? So there's a huge number of things. And from a physical perspective, because of that proximity, that closeness to your opponents, you're feeling that physical contact. So it's not just about honing your skills with the ball, it's honing those skills with the fact that there's a player constantly trying to get the ball off you. How do I hold them off? How do I position my body? How do I protect that ball? And I think it's that concoction of all those different things is why futsal is a great sport in its own right, but it's often referred to as a player development tool that accelerates the learning of young football players because of everything is so heightened in that space. And you mentioned about like the emotional intelligence, which is something we promote quite a lot at England Futsal as part of what we call our Pride DNA. It's about how you manage that when things go wrong or how things go right and how can you keep on top of that. So it's about managing your own emotions in a pressured situation. And I think that's great for young players to learn and to deal with that. How do I react in these moments? But also with your teammates. How do you help them through those tough situations, through the ups and the downs that happen in futsal, where two or three goals can be scored in a blink of an eye?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like, are there more of, futsal grounds like available at the place where you live or around the world? Like, because you are into the industry from such a long time. So, like, are people more open to introducing futsal in their city, their state, their countries? How is it?
Yeah, I mean, worldwide, it's often referred to as the fastest indoor growing sport. I'm sure there are probably one or two other sports that also claim that accolade, but yeah, it's played on every continent. There are a few football superpower countries that are still catching up, and I would say England is still in that bracket. But in terms of where it's played, it's probably easier to say where it's not so popular than it is where it's popular. And then in terms of in England, we have many domestic teams, club teams. We have a national league with different tiers for men and women, and then there's a number of youth clubs. Particularly over the last 5 years, the number of youth clubs, I can think of two that are sort of within 15, 20 minutes of where I live, has grown considerably, both on the boys and the girls, because I think people are becoming more aware, not just that it's a great game to play, but how it can support the holistic development of a young person. So yeah, we're still playing catch up to the likes of South America and continental Europe, where the game has a stronger culture. It's part of society to some extent in their communities and has a professional level to it as well. So it is a big sport. It's officially recognized. And it obviously has the structure behind it with FIFA and UEFA as the world and European governing bodies for England. So yeah, in terms of having an official pathway, it has a strong infrastructure and it's really starting to grow.
Okay. So, like, I want, like, as you were saying, as a pathway to schools and clubs, and it is increasing slowly and gradually. So, what is the performance pathway, like schools or clubs or people who are interested to learn futsal should adopt to, like that these are the 10 steps that you should do so you can go ahead with it, or these are the 10 steps you can go ahead so you can move from one level to another level. There has to be
Yeah,
something.
yeah, there is, and we haven't completed that yet. So it's a journey to have that pathway, but. I think what's pleasing, so like I said, my journey started at university. So probably 10 years ago, a lot of people's journey started at university and college, where there's a thriving program. There's a number of universities and colleges that play the sport. But what's pleasing more recently is that many more schools are introducing it at primary school and secondary school. There's many more youth competitions that young players can access, and there's many more clubs providing youth development opportunities. So the first step is often linked to opportunity. So we don't have this in everywhere. So that's why I say it's a little bit by opportunity and chance, and we need to grow that. But is to understand, is there a local club to you? that are providing that opportunity, or maybe, your school was part of your PE or curriculum or an after school club. Then it's ultimately just developing yourself within the club environment. What we hope to do is expand our pathway over the coming years. So at the moment, the first, I suppose, talent and development opportunity is at under 19s, which is quite late. But we have an under 19s development program, boys and girls. And then beyond that, we have a men's and women's senior team, our Lions and Lionesses, as they're called. But what we hope to do before the under 19s is to increase provision, certainly down to under 17s, boys and girls, and have regional sites around England that players can access, working alongside their club and community futsal. But also, we would love to start to increase and establish almost like a talent development programs for 12 to 16-year-olds, also around the country over the next 3 years. Now, those plans will take the next 3 years. We have,
Absolutely.
not a huge amount of capacity and resource, but that's the aim and intent. And the other thing we started doing, which is much more about participation and fun, enjoyable, inclusive first experiences, is we started to introduce holiday programs in certain locations for kind of 5 to 12-year-olds. And we want those opportunities, working alongside clubs to start to spring up all over the country. But again, will take time. But that hopefully then means alongside clubs and schools, there are also England futsal opportunities to meet different motivations as a young person grows and gets older.
Absolutely. So, like when you're talking about this, I'll just give you an example. In cricket, a player needs a physiotherapist, a doctor, a dietitian. There are multiple people associated with a player. So, like, how is it with futsal? What care needs to be given to a player pre, post, during a match?
Yes, I mean it will differ. So those countries with a more professional environment and setup will have far more resource and that kind of multidisciplinary team around players at a high elite level. Um, so largely what you would see development perspective is a coach, maybe a support coach working with the players, and they would need to train themselves up to be able to educate a player holistically as best they can, albeit they are not specialists. With the England futsal program, with our senior teams in particular, so we're fortunate we have a larger staff, so we'll have obviously a technical team of coaches, head coach, assistant. But of course, the physical demands require a medical team, so doctor, physiotherapist. We have a bit of a casual part-time strength and conditioning coach that comes in and works to support the athleticism of the players, so it's specific to the demands of futsal. We have had, not currently, but we have had previously a sports psychologist. I spoke about the pressure and the mental and emotional intelligence and the demands placed on a person's mind is quite significant, particularly at the highest level. So having someone to support individually and collectively is really important. And again, there may be a performance analyst or a video analyst that works with the technical coaches to um, observe players, opponents, whether that's our own team or our opposition, to start to create profiles and videos and evidence of who we might be up against or how we are doing as well as a team. And then there might be other roles, such as a nutritionist to support with the diet needs of players, something we don't have access to at the moment. And then, of course, someone who brings that all together, a team manager. So making sure that collectively, from technical to medical to other support staff, that we are all working towards the same goals and able to bring the best out of each of these different roles. So there's a flavor of some of the roles at the highest level that you might experience. But like I said, futsal in different countries is established at different levels and may have some or a less of those individuals.
Absolutely. So when you were talking about this, like these days there are a lot of devices imbibed in the game, during the game, pre, post, like the cameras taking video analysis of the players. So how does that work in this game? Like, is it helpful, or is that it has not started yet, imbibing the technology into sports?
No, there's a lot of it, and again, depending on your resource as a club or as a national team, probably depend how far you take that. Also, the preferences of the head coach. So what are their views on data, digital tech being informing how they play, how they progress, how they develop. But yeah, from our point of view, we use it pretty consistently. We use it from a few angles. So first of all, we will film pretty much all our training sessions, and we will film all our games as well. And we will also these days you can access footage pretty much of all your opponents, certainly at the highest level. And then we will work as a coaching team and that video performance analyst to start to I suppose, build a library of clips in relation to who we're playing, the things that they do well, the things that we think where they have a weakness, and we start to then educate ourselves around that, but also our team and our players. And then it's also doing a similar thing for ourselves. So, how are we developing as individuals? How are we developing as a team? And again, building a bit of a library for individual players or the collective group about our strengths and weaknesses and how we can use those to exploit our upcoming opponents. So, there's a bit of a before and an after in particular. Now, some setups, we're not at this point, will clip during a game and use half time as an opportunity in the changing room. There might be a screen in the changing room to play back certain things that have been identified to make players aware, to promote key messages. So there's certainly from a game perspective, and it's now gone beyond that, where it's about talent identification as well. So being able to access footage, code footage very quickly to better assess and understand the capabilities of the next generation of players or players that you might want to bring into your team, for example. So it's pretty prominent. And I think being an indoor sport and the nature of the game, I can only see it going more like what you might see from American sports in particular, with the stats, the data, the speed of the intel. That's where I can see it going over the next 5, 10 years, to bring it also to audiences, to market the game to fans and to spectators globally.
Okay. So like during the training sessions, if any video analysis or data or it is everything is taking, so does it help the players, the coaches, or like, there are any negative, not negative, rather, like you look it as no that this might create problems to the players, their motivation level or something. Does that happen? Or everything is like, you take it in a positive angle that no, this is a good side.
No, no, I think we certainly sift through it. So we work out from a coaching team, what are we sharing and why, and what are we not sharing and why. And we would do that from a collective perspective, also from an individual player perspective. We've not been as prominent on the physical data. A few years ago, we used to share a lot of that. And that was aimed, I suppose, to partly motivate the players, create a bit of healthy competition. But then players started trying to improve their physical stats. But does that actually improve performance? The number of times they accelerate or change direction, for example. So it's being mindful of that. But there might be data around, testing, that might be really important. And then again, from a game perspective, what is the cognitive load of a player? Like if we give them everything, is that just going to lead to like performance paralysis? I can't think of anything. There's too much in my brain. So we
Absolutely.
try and layer that. We try and think about that as a coaching team, how much we want to share and why. What are the key messages and points that we just have to get across? But then there might be other stuff we perhaps share with individuals, like a leadership team or a captain, for example. And then other stuff we might leave. And we've got that information. And it might be that the coaches act on it at certain points, but we don't distribute it or share it in the same way.
Absolutely. So you as a coach, what are the technical trends or innovations happening into the technology industry which excites you more, that you can imbibe this into the futsal world and you can take it ahead? Or is there anything which you would like to see the futsal sports imbibing into it and taking advantage of certain technologies?
Yeah, I think being an indoor sport, I think and being a fast-paced game, I think there's better. I think FIFA are doing a lot more work on trying to code the game from an analytical perspective. So increasing the data and the ways and the methods and having a more strategic approach to how we understand the game, its trends, its patterns, its and then for particular teams, their patterns and trends through much more robust and mature data collection. Because I think it's done in lots of different ways at the moment, and that's fine. I'm not saying I think for individual teams that's fine, but as a sport as a whole, can it market itself and demonstrate a little bit more alignment around what it shares on telly when people are watching the game? So there's definitely something in that, and equally a little bit more consistency around, well, if we use more data and video and technical insights on players and teams, when we share that information, can that be a little bit more consistent in the way in which we identify players that, someone might want to bring to their team or an opponent that they're about to face? So, of course, teams will do things for themselves to protect their own interests, but I just think there's aspects of the global growth of the game that could be better aligned. Don't get me wrong, teams will decide how they want to use data and technology and how they break it down, and that's fine on a team level. It's just that there's opportunity to use a more connected and, I suppose, aligned opportunities around where we use digital and tech. Fan experience is part of that as well. The fan experience, the customer experience, that will support more, I suppose, young people understanding the game quickly when they watch it and could start to spot those things through the data that's shared on a TV screen, for example.
Okay. So recently there was UEFA, right? Under 19 futsal Europe qualifier. So what lessons as a coach, you would like to share to young sporting people who are growing and want to get involved into that, and how can it influence the future for future preparations?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is probably something off the court to begin with, is supporting the next generation with leadership skills. So what we've probably recognised, certainly over the last few years, and this might be linked to society, and might be linked to what young people are exposed to, particularly teenagers growing up, whether that's through social media. How do you be a leader within a group of your peers as a 17, 18, 19-year-old? How do you support yourself to be the best you can be, but how do you challenge others but support them as well? And I think that's a big learning. Like, we will certainly over the next cycle, so like a 2-year cycle, is look at how do we support young players with their communication skills, with their ability to influence and manage others, their ability to lead a group, lead a team, their ability to, effectively engage, connect, and then be able to have an influence, a positive influence over their peers, over their teammates. So that's the first thing, and that would obviously apply to many other sports. And it's about when you come into an international environment where you might not know all the players as well as you do in your club environment. So that's why these skills are important, because in that environment we have less time together than they do in their club. And how do we gel quickly? And I always believe that we need to connect, we need to develop trust before we can start to influence performance. And if we can do that very quickly, you'll start to see that as a platform to development of young people in the game of futsal. Then we can elevate performance far quicker. And then I think from our point of view, because of the game isn't professional. We don't have the highest levels compared to other teams in Europe that we compete against in UEFA competition. Is how do we support them physically, or certainly that age group? So, like I said, we have many good technical players. They're playing the game earlier for longer now in their clubs. So the club game is doing some great stuff. The coaching is supporting that, but they do that twice a week. We how do we create athletes? That's ultimately it. How do we support them to develop robustness, intensity, continued intensity in a game? How do they deal with managing physical contact and pressures? Those skills that we probably have a responsibility to try and weave in. So those would be the two main areas, and then it's about working then with the club game, the clubs that work with those youth players to support them to be exposed to those types of situations, tactical situations that they've not seen before at club level, more often ready for international competition. So yeah, that's the next job, how we connect that together and collaborate with those environments and those coaches to support players.
So when you were talking about the tactical decisions, I want to understand what are the key technical and tactical focus areas which as a team players need to focus on, and how can they go ahead and how can they come out as a winning team, or not a winning team but as a more stronger team.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talk about it as we call it game sense. How do you sense the game? And that's all situated in how you understand, create, and manipulate time and space. So we want players to be skillfully adaptable around how do I if I'm defending, reduce my opponent's time and space in order to win the ball back. Or if I'm attacking, how do I create and expand the time and space available to me? So that's what, as a concept on a whole. And then let's take it from a defensive point of view, like, do we go and press our opponent? So we go very aggressive wherever the ball is. We want to try and win the ball back. So therefore, we're taking away time. Or actually, do we drop off into our own half? So we offer them time, but we take space away. And then, of course, is any space in between, and it's always that fluctuation between time and space. And then in possession, it's recognizing that how do we use width and depth, how do we make the most space of the court, how do we position our players, where do our players play in order to do that, and there's different what we call systems in order to try and I suppose effectively create more space for us linked to our strengths, and that enables us to I suppose build a platform into the game. But yeah, everything to begin with comes back with time and space. So we have lots of conversations around systems where people should stand or start and their positions, but we're trying to move away from that, where we talk more about, well, what are the principles of the game? What are the roles of individuals and as a team within that game? What's our strategy? Do we want to win the ball back quickly? Do we want to take space away? When we're in possession, do we want to attack fast? Do we want to attack with more patience? How do we get our individuals with strengths more on the ball more? It links really well back to data and the digital side of it. Because if we know that that's our strategy, we can then use data to inform us, well, did we achieve that or did we not?
Absolutely. So when you're talking about this, one last question is how can one work, or as a community, one can work to increase participation, awareness of futsal across grassroots levels, particularly in schools or in the underdeserved communities or local clubs or organizations, and to bring in inclusivity, diversity, and come out as a game. How
Yeah,
can that happen?
I think first and foremost is inviting people to go and experience it, to go and watch it, to go and see it, go and visit a local game, because even a local game at a lower level is can still be very exciting in terms of lots of goals, and to just appreciate then some of the things that of the game that will support a young person's development, whether that's the leadership side of it, the emotional intelligence side of it, or it's the technical side of it that we've spoken about. I think that's first of all is about raising the profile and the understanding and awareness of how the game could support what from a young person that their physical literacy. So their confidence, their competence, their ability to move, their motivation to enjoy sport and be active as a starting point. And then I think it's just futsal. Futsal can be, essentially be played anywhere. Obviously, from an outdoor perspective, if the weather's good, it can be played on hard courts. We have lots of unusual spaces that we can make better use of in cities and towns to support different communities to access the game. And of course, then there's lots of schools that have indoor spaces that often aren't used as much. And it's about, look, if creating opportunities, it's about working with local authorities, it's about working with local clubs to provide those access and opportunities. And we also have obviously a huge amount of football played in England where those clubs also could have opportunities. Why don't we bring in futsal to expand our offer to a wide range of young people already who might be interested in a slightly different experience of development of playing a game with a ball. So I think it's accessible anywhere, and there's not too much expenses with it. You just need a space to play. The futsal ball itself, if you can find a smooth, hard space, you can pretty much get going. And it doesn't always have to be 5v5 as well. Like that's like at the competitive side of it, but there's so much you can do 2v2, 3v3, and it's just about that space concept again and how we support players to understand that. And I think that motivates them because they get lots of goes, they enjoy it, they get on the ball, they build confidence through developing their skills pretty quickly. And that I think then breeds engagement and people want to come back and play.
Perfect. Sean, we'll move on to the next segment of the podcast. That's the rapid fire round. I'll ask you a few questions and you'll have to be quick in answering.
Cool,
Okay.
cool.
First question, futsal or football? What's more fun play on a Sunday morning?
Futsal.
Okay. Whistle, clipboard or cones? What can't you coach without?
Does it have to be one of those?
Yes.
Uh, uh, oh, I don't
Okay,
know.
name something else. Name something else.
Ball. I can't coach without a ball.
Okay. Most used phrase during a training session.
Oh, most used phrase during a training session. I say, commit to your actions.
Okay.
So
If futsal had walk-on music, what would be yours?
I'm a bit of a fan of wrestling, old school wrestling. So it would be an old school wrestler's walk-on music.
Okay. Penalty shootout. Do you watch or walk away?
No, watch. Yeah.
What is young Sean's dream job? Coach, player, or superhero?
Player.
One snack you shouldn't eat before training, but do anyway.
I wouldn't have a particular snack, but what I do is I eat too late. So
Okay.
I always eat too late, and then I still bit full when I get to training.
Absolutely. If you could swap roles for a day, referee, player, or commentator.
Player again.
Okay.
Just love playing the game.
One legendary player you would like to have dinner with.
Can I have two?
Sure, definitely.
I'm a big fan of the Spanish footballer Xabi Alonso, who manages at Bayer Leverkusen. I just loved him. And then futsal, someone who is huge in our game is the Portuguese player João Matos. He's the same age as me, I believe, and he's still playing. And
Wow.
yeah, I'd like to talk to him about his career.
Perfect. Now we'll move on to the next segment. That's you'll have to answer one question in 30 seconds. According to you, what is the role of AI in building futsal's future?
Oh, wow. I would say there's a role for AI in building futsal's future around supporting player development and probably the analysis of a player's development and increasing the speed and efficiency of being able to do that. there's definitely a role, as we spoke about earlier, around fan engagement and content creation, being able to do that all at speed, I guess, isn't it? And then probably, which goes a little bit against my coaching views and philosophy, but there's probably a little bit to do with match strategy and
Yes,
scouting of players. But that's probably a little bit of a controversial one.
but that is there right now. It's there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you, Sean, for joining us today and sharing wonderful insights in the podcast.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope it was of use to people that were listening, either for the first time or many times, but to hear about futsal. So, yeah, real appreciated.
Absolutely. So, everyone, let's stay connected for understanding more about sports and technology in the podcast. Please share this episode with your friends, families, and the people who love sports and technology. That was Sean sharing his experience today. Everyone, will meet next week in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring.